Now, what did you decide to do after the daytime show was canceled? Were you thinking about retirement again, or?
Yeah, well, I've retired 5 times. So. Excuse me. Well, what happened, it probably financially, the most satisfying thing that ever happened to me was when they canceled the morning show, they went to Dave and gave him a contract not to work for anybody else for a year. And they paid him so much a week, and they did the same thing for me. So I was for a year, almost a year, I was getting paid every week. And when Dave called and told me we were going back on the air, I felt disappointed. I said, "This is the best gig I've ever had."
Now, what did you do in that year with getting paid? Did you?
I worked on my house, yeah. Yeah.
Was it sort of a tacit agreement between you and Dave that when he came back, you would be his director?
There was no I mean, it's funny, that's a good question because I never thought of it. I mean, NBC had already given me a contract for not working. Right. So it was assumed that I would be directing when we came back.
Did you have any idea of how you would come back or what time period you would have? Or?
Well, we'd taken the fellow who was the place we were taking.
Tom Snyder, yeah.
Yeah, and actually he was a nice guy, and Dave liked him and felt guilty that he was taking that spot, but he wanted to go back on the air.
When did you first hear that that was going to be your next adventure with Dave?
I got a call from Dave saying that the show, we were going back on the air. They were giving it to Tom Snyder a spot.
Was there great excitement on both your parts about?
He was. I was kind of, as I said before, I was kind of had mixed feelings because who doesn't like free money? I mean.
So were there many plans as to what you would do with this new time slot? Did you sit down and discuss it, or you just end up producing a show?
Well, yeah, I think we just sat down and started producing and said, well, in segment 1 we'll do this. I'm going, well, it's kind of like the morning show, only after dark.
Well, here's the bad news, folks. It looks like I'm going to be, did you hear that? Sounds like we have an otter loose in part of the... How many of you heard a wild animal being tortured? Right over there. We'll take care of that. I think the boom, the man operating the boom microphone, was that you or the equipment, sir? Well, let's just pretend it was the equipment. Yes, sir. When Johnny's gone, nothing but the best for the guest host, let me use that old rusty thing. You don't care. Anyway, the bad news, looks like I'm going to have to be moving to New York. Now, no, that's all right. No. I love New York because once you've lived there for a while, you realize that the city is being staged by Alan Funt. It's just... Alan Funt was an interesting guy and still is. That wonderful television show, he got to satisfy all of his strange desires. Be things like, we've hidden a camera inside this butcher shop. What the customers don't realize, the butcher is actually convicted maniac slasher, meat axe Wagman. And let's watch the fun now. So, but when I found out I was moving to New York, it was funny. I called my mom, and moms are always sentimental about stuff like that. You're going away to college, or you're going away for a vacation, or you're going to New York. And Mom said, oh, you're moving to New York? And I said, yeah. And she says, well, pack something bulletproof. And I said, very sweet, Mom. But the greatest thing I've seen in New York City, they get these cabs. You know what cabs are, don't you? Of course you do. In the signs in the back seat of the cabs, it says, "Please do not leave valuable items in the cab." This, of course, has got to be a sarcastic remark. What is this? "Sir, my wife and I enjoyed the ride so much, we're leaving you this diamond brooch." So I was all set to move, and as you may or may not know, rent is exorbitant in New York City, and I was lucky enough I found a place in which to dwell. Sounds like a song, doesn't it? We didn't have a planned song, did we? A song planned either. Found a place, $700, pretty nice, and then I got a phone call today from one of my neighbors saying that there had been a fire and it was destroyed. And the neighbor told me that the fireman told him that they had never seen a car burn like that before. No. Oh, no.
Were there any other major differences between the daytime show, or you just began?
Well, we had music that Dave liked. The morning show, the music, it was good, but it wasn't. Paul Shaffer was just the right, because Dave liked contemporary music, and Paul was very good in keeping up with all the music. And we had great music acts. A lot of it having to do with Paul Shaffer's acceptability in that field.
Let's talk about how in 1982 you came to work with David Letterman.
Right after I left Saturday Night Live with everyone else, David got his morning show on NBC. He was starting the very next fall, in my recollection. And I got a call, would I like to come in and, and talk to the producers about doing the David Letterman morning show. And I think it was that I had just finished what seemed like a long, long run. Here I am 27 years later, still working for Dave now. But at the time, 5 years, that's enough. And let me try to do some other things. And the morning, Dave and I have a joke that we say on the air quite often. When he says, "Paul, you didn't do the morning show, did you?" And I say, "No." "Why not?" And I said, "Couldn't get up that early." It wasn't too far from the truth. I didn't want to start another show right at that time. I didn't end up doing the show, but.
Now, did he approach you? Who approached you?
I don't remember, but except to think that I got a call. I mean, certainly the second time, when I was approached the second time, when he then was going to get a late night show to come on after Johnny Carson, even later than Johnny Carson, and that intrigued me. And at this time, I was approached by his management company, someone from the Rollins and Jaffe management company, who were the executive producers, or Jack Rollins was his particular manager and became his executive producer. Someone from that office come in and meet Dave and talk about this show he's doing after Johnny Carson. And so I came in and met with Dave and his producer at the time, not Jack Rollins, he was executive producer, but Barry Sand was the name of his first producer. I think he came aboard in the morning and then continued with Dave when he got his late night show. And I spoke to these two guys, and they asked, what kind of idea would you have for the band? And you can only have 4, yourself included. That's perfect for me, because that's exactly what I was used to. 4-piece rock bands. Godspell was 4-piece. I can do. And I had this concept of doing. Now I must say that Howard Shore did open up. We were the first. We weren't Carol Burnett. We also were not Carol Burnett-ish when it came to the band and the type of music that were played on the bumpers and stuff in and out of commercial. We were pretty contemporary. We were playing R&B and stuff. Original tunes that we were writing in an R&B style. I wrote some tunes that were kind of like Barry White, because that's what I was into at the time. So that barrier had been broken down. And now, when it was time for me to tell Dave what kind of band I would have, I thought back to my days of playing the clubs in Toronto, and how they would play R&B instrumentally. And I loved to play the Hammond organ, and I said, well, how about, I think of it like an R&B instrumental band, like a Booker T and the MGs kind of thing. Playing Motown and Stax and soul music and playing instrumental versions of these things. And Dave said, well, he said, I've always thought of myself as Wayne Cochran anyway. Wayne Cochran being a little-known regional James Brown-style performer from Miami. And when I heard him say that, I said, this guy is hilarious. I've got to work for this guy. And he has since told me that he didn't really consider anybody else for the job. He saw me do the SNL thing, specifically mentioned the Bill Murray Lounge Singer sketches. And we hit it off that day in the meeting anyway, and he hired me.
So now talk about putting together the band.
This band.
Yeah.
Well, it was originally just me and 3 other guys. And I had been spending the 2 years doing studio work, getting more into the studio scene, knew the various performers in town. Will Lee was on the first session I ever did in town back in '74 on bass, and we clicked then, and he is impeccable bass guitar player, one of the greatest in the world, really one of the top three guys in the world. And he was in a band himself at this time called the 24th Street Band with other guys that I really liked. Steve Jordan, who I had already worked with on the Blues Brothers and used to work with in the studios a lot. Steve and Will were playing together. It made sense to, they were both too much on their instruments. It made sense to hire them both. And their guitar player, too, was the late, great Hiram Bullock. He only died within the last year. And I had worked a lot with him as well. He could play any style on the guitar and was really like Hendrix quality, this guy. So I had sort of a band, ready-made band already. I couldn't hire the fourth guy, the keyboard player, Cliff Carter. But I still hire him now, when I need an extra keyboard or synthesizer player. And that was the original band, and we all liked the same music. Even though guys like Hiram were jazz players, Steve and Will too, really what they really liked was rock and roll and R&B. And the two black guys, Steve and Hiram, they said, do we have to play just Motown, and can't we play Rolling Stones and stuff like that? And they sort of opened it up to more of a white rock and roll thing too, not just soul. So that became the style of the music that I was playing. And wrote a little theme song that we still use. I wrote it in the style of an organ trio. Now I've kind of jazzed it up now that we're on CBS, and I was encouraged to add horns and make it a bigger band. So I got an extra guitar player, Felicia, on guitar, and 3 horns, and I kind of jazzed up the theme, but it's still the same melody as we started with 27 years ago.
Luckily for me, I had gotten used to a single gig here and a single gig there, and maybe a thing here and maybe an empty space here for a while, and maybe another gig comes in, and then a sporadic, it was all spotty, because it was always one-offs. It was always like one session or performance at a time. I wasn't part of a touring band.
Right.
Not much. I mean, I did a few small things, but that wasn't my life either. My life was basically in the city, taking one-offs for a long, long time. And then I get this phone call from Paul Shaffer about this TV pilot that was coming up that he was going to be a part of and wanted me to be a part of the band.
Right.
And that was the Letterman Show. And it like I said, it wasn't a established anything. It was just a pilot, and it was 13 weeks of work the first time around. before anything got renewed. It was like here's a 13-week commitment.
Right.
And I couldn't believe my ears and my luck. You
Yeah.
know, 13 weeks of solid work. Wow.
Incredible. Yeah.
I've never experienced anything like this before, you know?
Right. Right.
So that turned, of course, into the next 13 weeks
Yeah.
contract, and then a 6-month contract, and then a 3-year contract, and then a 33 and a third years later.
You never know who you're going to run into on the streets here. For instance, you might run into Gregory Peck. You might possibly run into Richard Harris. I don't believe it.
Hi, Willard. How are you?
I don't believe it. It's David Letterhead.
Thank you.
He's the idol of the... You're starting your new production when?
February 1, but before we get into that, I just wanted to congratulate everybody affiliated with your show, The Today Show, for being on the air for 30 years. And I know that means a lot to everybody coming from a guy whose own show lasted 18 weeks. So it's a commendable anniversary.
I don't know of anybody in that room and anybody in the show business that hasn't had the same experience one way or the other, but we wish you the best. I happen to be your biggest fan at 260 pounds.
Thank you very much, Willard, and thanks for the opportunity of letting me get up at dawn. I appreciate that.
I do a great... Watch this. And now, here's David.
And we have your resume.
Thank you.
David Letterman with Willard Scott on January 14th, 1982, the 30th anniversary of The Today Show.
I don't know why. Anyway, starting February the 1st, which is not long from now, he'll be on the air again immediately following The Tonight Show, Monday through Thursday, with a program called Late Night with David Letterman. And here is David Letterman.
Thank you so much. Hi and hello.
Hi, hello. I did not know this until I read the card.
What's that?
Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
You're not even on, and you got a 4-day week already. Took me 10 years to get a 4-day week. How did this come about?
I owe that all to my pioneer forefathers before me who had the courage to blaze that trail so that I would not have to labor under the oppression of a 5-day work week. Thank you very much.
Well, anyway, congratulations. And
thank you very much.
You're preparing. You've lost some weight.
I've lost a little weight, but I'm optimistic nonetheless. That makes it sound like there might be something wrong with me, doesn't it?
Well, the camera makes you look heavier anyway, so it's good to be thin.
How many pounds heavier do you suppose the camera would make one look?
Oh, 7 or 8.
7 or 8? So that's just about what I lost.
So it'll all balance
It's all
out.
part of God's great plan, isn't it?
That's right, for a thought. How did you get out of New York? I thought New York was snowed in, and
oh, brother,
you
New
can't
York.
get to the airport.
You know, you got to give New York the benefit of the doubt, but with snow, whew, that's it, lights out.
Bad, eh?
I'd never been in New York City in a snowstorm, so I wasn't concerned because I assumed when I went to bed it was still coming down rather heavily, but I wasn't concerned because I just assumed, like everything else in New York, that it would be stolen, and there'd be no real problem, you know, so...
That's right.
But it's no good. You can't get around at all there. No. I don't know. They just ought to shut it down for the winter and let find suitable housing for the residents elsewhere, I guess.
They should put up a sign of Lincoln Tunnel closed or something, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Forget the whole thing.
But there are good sides to everything. Like I'm out here, and it's warm, and I heard good news on the radio. Toward the end of the decade now, medical science believes that they will have come up with a way to put an end to our need for moist towelettes by the end of the decade.
My God, I didn't know that. I heard him talking about that on Washington Week in Review. Paul Duke brought that up.
I first heard about it on the McNeil-Lehrer report.
Yeah,
they did it. Yeah,
I guess both of them covered that.
You know, nowhere in the Bible will you find the word snack.
You're probably right, or anybody named Murray.
No, there's no.
It's mentioned as far as I know of.
By the way, this is the kind of thing the folks can expect on my new show.
Now, when it's let's hope so, at least, yeah. How did the name come? I imagine there were many confabs back east, as they say in the trades, on the correct name of the show.
Let me ask you about the name. Do you like the name Late Night with David Letterman?
It has a nice ring to Late Night with David Letterman. We have Letterman, late, kind of a little alliteration there.
Yeah.
Late with Letterman doesn't sound right because it sounds like you're dead.
Yeah, that's right.
The late David Letterman at night is no good either. So.
And what with this recent weight loss, we don't want to know.
No. Did you have any other suggestions?
We had page after page of suggestions. The Donna Reed show with David Letterman. My personal favorite was Oh, That Linda with David Letterman. And an old film I saw at the VFW years ago in college. The other one, now this is the one, now we're getting into the area that I liked. We're following your program, so we considered Later Tonight.
Later Tonight?
Later Tonight. Not Tonight.
Not Tonight. I like that. Catchy.
It's kind of cute, isn't it?
Yes.
And
hidden meaning there.
The other one was Don't Go to Bed with David Letterman. I like that. But I like the. How are you? Nice to see you.
The way the ratings are going, maybe a Monday through Thursday football with David Letterman. You know, suck all those people in before they realize what they're onto.
I want to just say something here, and I feel sort of awkward saying this because you see people say stuff like that, and it kind of makes you wince. But I'm going to say it anyway because, well, with this weight dropping off the way it is. This program is being produced, my new program is being produced in association with your company, and I just want to take a second here to thank you for not only this, but all of your help and everybody on your staff that I've received.
Well, that's very nice.
all the way along, and it's been very important to me and something I'm very flattered about.
Well, that's nice to say, and you didn't have to do that.
No, but I was also hoping for some cheap applause.
I was, if you can't get... I've always said if you can't get heartfelt applause, go for the cheap stuff.
Yeah, that's
You know what? You go back for the cheap stuff to grab an audience.
I could have announced then that I'd been married for 25 years. Thank you very much.
My grandfather's 103 usually gets them when you say that, my grandfather.
Yeah.
That's long getting.
Anyway, I was serious about that.
Well, thank you, and I know you meant that, and it was nice of you to say that.
Thank you.
Have you had any... I don't want to ask you what you're going to do because maybe you don't know exactly yet. Because you get in there and you start fooling around.
That's right.
But you're in New York.
Yeah.
Obviously, from time to time, we'll use a little local.
You can't help but use local color in New York. I went out one night with my producer and my girlfriend, and we decided. Excuse me.
It's all right.
My tongue just stopped there. But I think that's happened to all of us, hasn't it?
Yes.
We went out for pizza. And, you hear a lot about New York. It's a wonderful place for the theater and the arts. But really, when it gets down to it, all you can do in New York is eat pizza. That's it. That's all anybody does. That's all anybody cares about. Let's go get a slice of pie. And so you do. And Broadway, no. Pizza, you bet. So... The three of us now go into this pizza restaurant, and we're having a couple of slices of pie. And I had the glazed yeast pizza, and I think my girlfriend had the radish. I'm not sure, but we're eating pizza. And we see this guy off in the distance, kind of weaving toward us, and he's getting closer, and he just has a seat. He's now part of our group. No one invited this guy. He weaved right on over, took a seat. And he's dressed, he looks like an art gum eraser in a suit. So this guy leans over. I assumed that the producer knew him. The producer assumed I knew him, and my girlfriend thought that, I don't know what she thought, but nobody knew the guy.
Sat down.
Yeah, and he reaches over, just like, here's my pizza pie right here. He reaches over and he just grabs it like that. He kind of wads it. Well, New Yorkers wad pizza anyway. They wad it. He shoves it into his head, bites off a hunk, throws it back down. Now, his face is now glistening with pizza grease. And he says, "What are you going to do about it?" So,
New Yorkers like a challenge.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, things race through your mind, and I thought, well, I'm going to fight this guy over a piece of pizza. Now, that's not a good idea, because he obviously had sized us up as a couple of wimps anyway.
Right.
Or he wouldn't have come over and had a seat.
You'd know it.
So now my girlfriend, who is trembling and she is livid, she says, "We're calling the police." Maybe that works in Pleasantville, Ohio. I'd rather fight the guy and die than try to explain to a New York cop Can you send up a couple of cars? Somebody had a bite of my pizza.
A couple of black and whites ought to cover it. Yeah. Maybe a SWAT team backup. Okay, we'll be right back. Thank you guys for the album. It's all about. That is a bar of music. We kind of limit the band late at night. They get tired. They just go boom-de-boom, and then boom, everybody's home. Do you have musicians on your?
We're very excited. We're going to have a live studio audience. We're going to have musicians, and it looks like by February 1 we should have the go-ahead on color.
Color.
Yeah.
Color. God. They've got real confidence. That network is going for color.
We're very excited. It's I don't mean to be silly about it, but then again, I've made a living being silly. But I'm very excited.
It's
about
our
the
business.
show.
Good luck with it. Really.
Thank you very
Anything
much.
we can do.
You mentioned the morning show that when you joined, it was pretty much a given that you would be canceled. Was there any fear when you began the late night show, or did you know that you would find an audience quickly?
Never occurred to me. Dave worried about everything, so I'm sure that Dave thought probably you won't be working tomorrow night. You know, I mean.
Dave Letterman is back. We around here are real glad because Dave Letterman was the best entertainment near lunchtime there ever was in this building. Turns out not all of America tuned in daytime to the Dave Letterman Show, but activity in this building came to a dead halt because it was the funniest show on television morning, noon, or night.
It's very nice of you.
Well, no, it's honest. I mean that sincerely. Dave is back in New York. You're going to host a late-night television program that premieres Monday night, which makes... How are you? You just sick about it or excited?
No, I'm a little of both. I'm a little nervous, but I can hardly wait to get it on and on its way, because the first show, the trouble with doing a new series of shows is the first show, because as much as you try not to emphasize it as anything significant, nonetheless, it's still the first show, and you feel like you've got to do something special, and that creates a little anxiety. But I'll be glad to get this thing off the ground, as we say.
How do you anticipate Tuesday morning, if there are, and I doubt that there would be, but reviews, you know, like they have on theaters? What are critics likely to say Tuesday morning?
I don't much care, because I found a way to deal with that: pills and whiskey. I don't know. I don't know what they're likely to say. I hope we're going to make a real honest effort. This is, I don't think you can fault the effort going into the show and the quality of people we have working on it. So after that, it's a roll of the dice, you know.
You must be thrilled to be back, just the opportunity to live here in Manhattan again.
I'm presently, I don't have a house to live in. I'm living in a hotel in which I'm the only person not from Argentina. And every evening when I return to the hotel, we go up in the elevator, and everyone but me discusses the historical inaccuracies in Evita. And I feel very left out, but that's where I'm presently making my home.
So in depression, you head out to the streets of the city, and you walk, and you have discovered, as we will show in a clip now from the new show, part of a series of reports you are doing called The Shame of the City.
Manhattan, center of the arts. But some people are out to destroy it for everyone. I'm here on the corner of 50th and 7th Avenue, where we see something. Maybe it's just a little thing, but for my money, more hard evidence of the shame of the city. Planing a party. Try one of these. The sudden arbitrary addition of an extra E and a missing N down here. I don't know about you, but this is the kind of thing that really gets me steamed. Excuse me, sir, could you come in here? What is your name, please?
My name is Danny.
Danny, do you work in this establishment?
Yes, sir.
Now, were you aware of the fact that there are 2 misspellings in this sign?
Yes, I know.
You do know, but yet you put the sign up.
I'm going to change that.
You are going to change it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Denny. There you have it, a blight on society remedied, and frankly, I was proud to be a part.
Is this a regular feature, The Shame of the City?
We're trying to assemble a regular feature. As it turns out, there's just not that many things wrong with New York City, so we're kind of coming up empty-handed. But
besides, what's wrong with planing a party? I've had many parties that I wish had been planed.
It was interesting. When we did this, as you know, anytime you put a camera on the street of New York City, thousands of deadbeats will assemble for no particular reason other than the assembly of deadbeats. And as we did the piece, we realized planing was misspelled, or planning was misspelled, and these was misspelled. And as we did it, somebody from the crowd hollered out, "Oh yeah, and luscious is also misspelled." So people on the street were aware of the fact that the sign actually had 3 misspellings.
A dictionary carrying.
I would guess so, yeah. You see that a lot on the street.
Yes, you do.
These days.
Did you realize, as you returned from Los Angeles to complete the round trip over the last year, that you were flying over the old hometown? You're from, let's be honest, you're from Indianapolis.
That's right. I'm
As
willing
I
to
am
own up
too.
to it. Sure.
Did you know that when we lived there, we were what they now call flyovers?
I didn't realize that there was a term for people who actually traveled over the state of Indiana.
It is not just Indiana. It is everybody who does not live in New York or Los Angeles.
Oh,
and it's a rather
flyovers.
arrogant term that people who are also, bi-coastal use to describe the people in the middle who I guess they mean don't matter.
Well, that's terrible. I'm very proud of my Hoosier heritage. It sounds like something that'd be the middle section of an Indiana basketball program, doesn't it? Bobby Knight and the Hoosier heritage. It's a proud story.
Bobby Knight's Hoosier hotshots, you mean?
That's right. I like Indiana. It's great. I wish I was there now. It's
You mean at this very moment?
No, not at this very moment. But it's a little smaller than New York City. It's not as big as New York City, and it's a little, I don't know. It's a very pleasant place in which to grow up, and I often miss it.
If you had to set out to do a shame of the city report from the hometown, where would you begin?
I think it would be bad hair pieces. There were a lot of them. You see a guy walking down the street like he's got an end table on his head, and I think that would be a place to begin. I could name names at this point, but I won't.
You're on.
Oh, I'm on. I'm
Go
sorry.
on. Proceed.
Enjoying listening
Yeah.
to you snort.
You deep. You incapacitate the interviewer. You can self-interview yourself.
Well, I don't know.
No more. I'm lost.
Oh no, you're not lost. You're doing a fine
What
job.
time is the show on Monday?
The time, the show will be on at 12:30, and we are going to have plenty of fun. I believe our first guests will be Bill Murray from the old Saturday Night Live and recently the big screen, and also a guy I'm very excited about meeting, Mr. Wizard, Don Herbert. And remember Mr. Wizard?
Yeah, of course I moved.
And we're going to conduct experiments, and we'll show the home viewers the set. We're going to take a behind-the-scenes look at the facility from which we broadcast this epic. And who knows, we'll probably auction off a Buick or two.
And like I say, America, who knows? You might not get another chance, so don't blow it this time. Best of luck, Dave Letterman.
Thank you, Jane. Pleasure to see you again.
We'll be back after a message.
Hi, I'm David Letterman, and I'm pretty excited about my new show. By Monday, we hope to have the go-ahead on color.
Late Night with David Letterman premieres Monday right after Johnny Carson.
My new show will be fresh, entertaining, and full of surprises. Had this been an actual show, I would have been surprised.
Late Night with David Letterman starts Monday.
I'm David Letterman, and on my new late-night show, there will be guests, comedy, and hopefully none of this music.
Late Night with David Letterman premieres Monday right after Johnny Carson.
NBC Monday Night at the Movies returns following these messages.
I'm David Letterman, and on my new late-night show, there will be guests, comedy, and hopefully none of this music.
Late Night with David Letterman premieres tonight after Johnny Carson.
They gave me the name, but I'm playing myself. That's me.
How did David Letterman find you?
How I got on was doing an NYU movie, and the writers, Carl Tiedemann and Steve Weiner, the ones that wrote it, produced, and directed it, were on the Letterman Show as writers. And they took this clip of the movie and showed it to David, and that's how it started.
Dave was so good, and I think Merle was involved in this too. I like, as I said, I liked old movies, and one of my favorite movies is Dracula. Not Dracula, the greatest villain of all, the greatest horror movie of all time. Come on.
I'm trying to think. Frankenstein, King Kong?
Frankenstein. It really, I think about it now, it frightens me, the look they created for him, that look in his face. And so, one of the things about the film Frankenstein is that This was made in 1932. But I think I remember the director's Wales. His name was Wales.
Right. James Wales.
And
yeah.
what they did was they opened up with a view of a stage and an audience, and a man comes out in a business suit. He's like the theater manager, and he said, "What you're about to see may startle you, may frighten you, may even," and then he goes on and he said, "And if anybody feels they can't tolerate that, should leave the theater now." So I suggested we do that at the beginning, and we did. And we did, only we used his little funny guy that, what was his name? You know, trouble with the name again.
Larry Bud Melman? No.
Yeah, Larry Bud Melman. And so Larry Bud came out and did that in a tuxedo, and really satisfied. I don't know if anybody even noticed, but it was, I thought it was just exactly what I wanted to do.
How do you do? Mr. Carl Lemley feels it would be a little unkind to present this picture without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now is your chance to, well, we've warned you.
Good evening. Certain NBC executives feel it would be a little unkind to present this show without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold a show featuring David Letterman, a man of science who sought to create a show after his own image without reckoning upon God. It's one of the strangest tales ever told. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you don't care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to, well, we've warned you.
Exciting cities in the tri-state area, it's Late Night with David Letterman. Tonight's guests are Bill Murray, Don Mr. Wizard Herbert, also a tour of the set, a special late night report on the shame of the city, and the Rainbow Grill Dancing Girls.
A man who shouldn't be up this late, David Letterman!
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's very kind of you, and welcome to our show. It's late night, and I guess you know spring is just around the corner in New York City when the peacock girls start to molt. It's not unlike the swallows returning to Capistrano. It's a festivity here every year in New York. Welcome to the show. You folks are apparently a bright group, bright enough at least to read the applause sign, and I certainly appreciate that. I'm very excited about this new show, and it's a big 3 or 4 days for NBC. Let's see, they of course had World War III last night starting on, and then Saturday night Eric Estrada was singing, and tonight this extravaganza, but the whole thing was kind of tainted. I believe it was Friday evening, an NBC executive on his way home was arrested at Grand Central Station. His pride was showing, so they hauled him over. We have a wonderful show for you folks this evening. Comedian Bill Murray will be joining us a little bit later. A guy who has been a longtime favorite of mine, you know him as Mr. Wizard, Don Herbert will be joining us. And if that wasn't enough, we are going to be right back. It's a brand new show, a brand new set, a wonderful facility, and we're going to take you folks on a tour of this studio, this set, after you take a look at this. Thank you for being here, folks.
What would you like to see on late night television?
Various ways of joining metal.
Okay.
Something about how to join metal.
I would like to see the metal is joined.
Oh, I wish there was a show that had information on how metal is joined.
Now, did you have any decision in how the studio would be laid out and how you would, where the orchestra would be and what the look of the show would be?
It looked a lot like the morning show at the end, with a desk, the doors in the same place. We were still in 6A. I don't think the band is in the same place.
I guess the one difference.
Hey, it's the same studio. Yeah,
right.
I mean,
Since it's the first night of a brand new television program for me, I thought what would be fun for you, the home viewers, and everyone here in the studio audience, let's just take a look at the equipment. A rare behind-the-scenes tour here at NBC. Come on and follow me. We're going backstage in big league television. This is, of course, Paul Shaffer and the boys, ladies and gentlemen. This is, we're actually backstage right now. And what I wanted to show you, first of all, you know the old expression, you've got to learn the ropes? Well, this is where it came from. Every one of these ropes supports hundreds and hundreds of pounds of delicate electronic television equipment, and it really takes a seasoned pro to know which ones you can't mess with. These are all in use. For example, I know that this one here is okay to let loose. There's nothing on the end of that one. Yeah, we'll just sleep that up a little bit later. Now over here, oh, this is exciting. People say to me, Dave, where do the really big stars live here at NBC? And this is a stairway to one of the many luxury apartments for the stars here at NBC, and this is great. Don't use all the hot water, Rona. Now, let's see. Oh, this is exciting. You've got to be very quiet when you come back here because you'll never know who you're going to wake up. This is perhaps the innermost recess of the backstage area. I wanted to call your attention to this particular sign up there. Refreshments for To Tell the Truth personnel only. And what refreshments they are, too, huh? Now, this little item, people say, how has the Today Show been able to stay on the air for 30 years? Well, I'll tell you, back in the mid-'60s, they started manufacturing their own appliances, and I have a Today Show blender and hairdryer at home. I'm going to show you what we're ultimately working up to is the control room. I tell you, the technological advances in television, leaps and bounds, they're growing, and it takes a real precision crew to operate the stuff. Come on through here before we get to the control room. This, of course, is the green room. And you can see we have vegetables and the corn, and got some winter wheat coming in. These are some of the few vegetables here at NBC not in programming. It's just a joke. Try to do as much fun as we can. People tend to underplay the role of makeup in television. Here is, of course, the makeup room at 6A. I want to just show you a little something. Hi, how's it going?
Hi there. Good luck with your
Thank you very much. Good luck. I enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Now, see, you know who that was before makeup? That's the star of Real People, Skip Stevenson. Okay, now this is a control room that I was telling you about earlier, and not many people ever get to see the inside of one of these things because it's a pressure-packed area. It's just about like being an air traffic controller. Let's go on inside and see how this baby works. What did I tell you? Yes, sir. You folks are in real luck. It's Stein night, I think. How's it going? Good. Oh, this is great. How are you? It's our director right over here. Al, how's it going? Nice to see you. We got to take a break. We'll be right back. Thanks a lot, folks. Excuse me.
But this show was owned by Carson, right? Carson Productions produced.
Yeah, that's right. There was a difference in technically we were beholden to Carson, and there were certain things we weren't supposed to do. We weren't supposed to do political satire at the beginning of the show. Carson felt, I think, threatened by someone else coming in and stealing the way he did his show.
So,
but he liked Dave so much we could do anything.
But you didn't get notes from Carson Productions about the show at all?
I think the executive producers did, but I never saw them. And we would probably ignore them if we did.
We got a guy trapped over here. This will be fun to watch. Come on. Just crawl on through here. That's all right. Go right ahead. I enjoy seeing a grown man do that occasionally. Go ahead. It's our producer, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, nothing left to chance here, you know. Well, about now you're asking yourself, gee, I wonder what else this show has. Well, I'll tell you, we have one of those. It's a pleasure for me to introduce my first guest with credits that include Saturday Night Live, the films Meatballs, Caddyshack, Where the Buffalo Roam, and Stripes. Bill Murray has become one of the top box office draws in show business. And besides that, he's a very funny man, and it's a pleasure to have him on our first program. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Murray.
Dave Letterman, come on, everybody up! Everybody up! Everybody up!
Hi, Bill.
How's it going?
Fine, nice to see you.
Good.
Thanks for being on the show. I certainly appreciate that.
Oh, good. Well, I just wanted, I hope you don't take any offense.
Offense of what?
Well, I just came in. It's, you folks in the studio probably don't know this, but I had to go I had to go back home, and I came right back, and I got caught in traffic. They were a little nervous out there, but it was no problem. It's just that I'm not wearing shoes right now. No, I'm just kidding. I have shoes.
Oh, there was a problem earlier?
No. They shouldn't have, they didn't tell you, obviously. You look sedated, so obviously you don't know.
Something happened that we don't fully understand?
No, well, no, nothing happened.
Well, anyway, I'm happy that whatever the difficulty was, you got it ironed out. Right?
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Okay. Can we go on with the questioning?
Yeah, where have I been? Or no, okay, go ahead, whatever.
You were in the Stripes.
I missed the first part of the show, by the way. What happened? Is it going well? I know this is the first show, and I think this guy needs a little support. Dave Letterman. All right, okay, good. All right, okay.
Where were we?
You were going to ask me about the last time I was on your show.
Oh, yeah. Well, this may not be of any interest to anybody, and it's barely interesting to me, but let me...
They're pumped up out there.
What are you playing with there?
It's just lint. It's just lint from inside my pocket. Here, I got more.
Now, this is interesting. You were in a movie last year that was number 5 in the box office tabulations.
No, it was number 3.
Number 3. You're a major star, and yet here you are playing with lint balls.
Well, I wish that you would quit trying to run my life, Dave. Okay? No, I mean this. I mean it. You've got everyone here under your spell. It's obvious. You know, you had them doing deep breathing exercises before the show. I don't like to see it. You know, I know you're on here in late night where no one can stop you. But this kind of thing is not going to go on as long as I have some connections here in this building, the RCA building. I saw what you did to Mr. Wizard. Don Herbert, he has the wizard in his pocket. And you just can't use science for your own ends, Dave. You can't play God with people. When are you going to get off the high horse? Smell the coffee brewing.
So, do you miss Saturday Night Live?
Sure, I miss it. I miss going back. I miss the old gang.
Yeah.
Bob Tischler, of course, my old friend, is producing it. My brother, Brian Doyle Murray, is on the show and one of the stars of the show. Wait a second, what's happening to me? I just fell back into your old trick, your old mind game. I'm reading these goofy questions, answering your little questions off the card. Well, do I miss Saturday night? You never missed anybody or anything. You got out of Indianapolis and didn't look back. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to fall on you, man, and I want to be there when it hits the floor. You know what I'm saying? Better yet, I'm going to do nothing about you, even though I could. You know, it's interesting. I had a chance to strangle Richard Nixon, and I didn't, and I regret it. And here I am, inches from... I don't know what's keeping me from doing it.
So, now that you're well known, is it harder to be funny?
No, it's not. Well, it's a little bit different. You know, you go out to a restaurant, you can't eat, you know, and people want your autograph and so forth, and it's hard to eat. What am I doing? What's happening? I swear, Letterman, if it's the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make every second of your life, from this moment on, a living hell. For what you've done. No, go ahead and talk to them. They're all singing your song tonight, Dave. Go ahead. I'll never make it home tonight.
I'll tell you what.
I'll never make it home. You should see the guys he's got in my dressing room waiting.
We're going to take a break to towel off Bill, and then we'll be right back after you take another break.
In this original meeting, the two of them, Dave and Barry, the producer, mentioned that they were not going to have an Ed McMahon, he should rest in peace, just died yesterday. That there would be no Ed type of character. Would I be the type of person who could play straight for Dave and be a guy that he could talk to and talk back? And I said, absolutely. And then I hoped that I could be. But I had had some experience doing acting on Saturday Night Live a little bit, and that Norman Lear thing that I did, and also just the funny people that I gravitated to during my career. Sid Scottsko, where I met some of the funniest. I learned a little bit from that.
The program here is Late Night. My name is David Letterman. This is Bill Murray. And Bill, you were about to say, I'm sorry, I interrupted there?
I owe you the biggest apology anyone has ever given anyone, David. I owe you an explanation for the way I behaved. I have been working like a dog on a project that no one else is even involved in. That's why it's so damn hard. I'm doing it all by myself. And Doctor has told me that I could crack at any time, and unfortunately it had to happen here tonight, your first show.
Had kind of a breakdown here, huh?
Well, I have a sort of a chemical imbalance. It's not anything, it's just a salt problem, and I just need a certain amount of maintenance.
Yes.
And I forgot, I was rushing around, you know, and everything, and I just forgot, you know, to take the pill and everything.
But you're okay now.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a little embarrassed, but I am okay now.
Oh, that's
I
great.
just wish you, because I love this guy. I love this guy so much, and if you knew, there's only one person that's helped me through all of this, and it's been David, with a phone call or a note, just a little scribble on, you know, from the desk of David Letterman. It's so sweet. It's there, you know, I open the mailbox.
How about the candygram?
A candy. It's everything. It's all these things. They add up. You know, it's like, oh, Bill, do you need a ride for Christmas or anything like that? He's always been there. The only one. And
when you called earlier today, I said, don't worry about a tie, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He's been great. Ah, I love this. Can we do this?
No, we can't.
Can we do this? Come on.
No, we're not.
Can we do this? Okay, enough with the smoke. All right, I got a little bit misty and it's over.
I understand you brought a videotape with you.
Something I made in my backyard, and I'm so proud of this. This is the project I'm talking about. It's
this is what you're working so hard on.
This is it, and I've been working night and day, all by myself. I found a little animal, and this little guy was being kept and forced to work in a Chinese restaurant. He's six weeks old. That's four years in adult years old. 4 years old. And this little guy had to remember how to prepare 50 different Chinese meals. Now, you imagine a 4-year-old trying to... They were feeding this guy MSG every 3 hours, and he was a wreck, an emotional and physical wreck. And I just grabbed him and I said, we're going out the back door. And this guy's been in my backyard and just raising just high holy hell.
We're going to take a look at this, Bill. I guess you just talk over this, and the folks watch the monitors at home and use your TVs, I guess.
His name is Cancun, and there he is. This guy's in my backyard, and look at him. Look at him.
That's great.
I rented this panda so he'd have a companion. And look at this. The kids in the neighborhood, they come and they visit, and it's all for fun with this guy. And if you could have seen him just a couple of weeks ago, you know, and
it's quite a place you got there.
Oh yeah, it's great. Well, I'll tell you, my neighborhood's gone crazy ever since this little guy rolled in.
Yeah.
And you know, it's cost me a heck of a lot of money because all these children show up and you got to feed them, you know. And here, this one, you know, when I like them a lot, I give them a little panda. This one I'm crazy about her. I gave her a big panda, a giraffe, and a camel. But look at what they've done. I had to put all these railings and stuff in the backyard because the bear has just taken over my life. And look at him. If you could have seen him, and now look at him. Look at him.
That's amazing. You're doing some wonderful work, Bill.
Can we look at a little of that again?
Well, I don't know if we... do we actually have time to roll this?
Would you like it? It's all right.
Well, we leaving now?
Oh, great.
Oh, here it is. Yes.
See? I built for him, see?
It is a little more exciting the second time around, isn't it? I tell you what, we're going to we're leaving now? We'll be right back, Bill. Don't you worry. Mr. Wizard will be joining us in the next half hour.
I said, yeah, I can be a foil for Dave. It took me a while to, Dave didn't know that really, though, so he never really addressed anything to me. One day he did, some weeks into the run, and I tried to speak and found that my mic wasn't even turned on. So I went to the engineer. I didn't know. I should have gone to the director, I guess, but I'd still only been on TV 5 years. I go to the engineer and say, I tried to speak and my mic was on. She said, I don't think they want it on. Really? So then I went to the producer. My mic supposed to be off when I speak. Oh no, it's supposed to be. Well, could you please? So I had to get that straightened out. And then she knew that she was allowed to turn on my mic, and I just went for it one night and started talking in the style probably of a Sammy Davis or a Jerry Lewis, or the type of performer from the previous generation that fascinated me and that I would find so humorous while at the same time respecting their talent so much. Whatever I said, Dave liked it and laughed, and he said, do more of that, and he encouraged me to. And that's how this relationship started.
Welcome back there. Mr. Wizard's going to be joining us in a couple of minutes, but before that, I understand, Bill, that on your road to recent rehabilitation, something was very important to you, you mentioned earlier.
Well, besides you, big lug.
Yeah.
But my doctor told me 10 days ago, Bill, you'd have been dead today. That would have been, so I would be dead like 13 days now. So yeah. He said you would be dead if it weren't for aerobics, aerobic exercise. Aerobic exercise has saved my life, turned my life around, and I will talk at length about it. But I know you don't have time.
No, darn the luck. So you're going to.
Yeah, well, what?
You're going to do a little of that for us, right?
Well, wait a minute. Well, it's aerobics training. It's really kind of a morning. It's a morning. I like to do it early while I'm still fresh, or sometimes after lunch, after a big meal, just to blow it up at late night like this.
Well, technically, this is morning now.
Well,
anytime after midnight, generally considered.
Yeah, well, I gotta feed Cancun in a couple hours. Say, do you guys know the new Newton-John thing? You're saying all the things I know you like. You're making with conversation. I gotta handle you just right. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure you'll understand my point of view. We know each other mentally. You gotta know that you're bringing out the animal in me. Let's get physical, physical. I wanna get physical. Let's get into physical. Let me hear your body talk, your body talk. Let me hear your body talk. Let's get animal. I wanna get animal. Let's get into animal. Let me hear your body talk, your body talk. Let me hear your body talk. Let's get physical, physical. I'm hurt. I think I'm really hurt.
Hello, I'm Larry Preston, Undersecretary of Education. I'm sure by now you've all heard about the President's change of public elementary and high school schedules. If not, let me refresh your memory. On February 1st, 1982, everywhere in the United States, the American school day will begin at 12 noon. That's right, school now begins 4 hours later. But the later start time does not mean that your children must stay at school later. The school day will still end at 3 o'clock. The President's official quote on the matter was, "They can leave anytime they want." It is the hope of the President and all of us here at the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare that your youngsters take advantage of this new schedule to broaden their interests, grow as citizens, and spend a lot more time watching late-night television. Thank you.
You mentioned the beginning of the show, but do you remember, Bill Murray being the first guest and what?
I just remember him going nuts, doing a dance and running around. I remember Bill Murray better for coming on once in a while. He was very unpredictable. He always come on with kind of a routine that he had invented but didn't let anybody else in on. He would come in and he said, "I got this great idea. I'm going to go out and then you try to blah, blah, blah." And then he would hide in the sound lock, which is right off the control room, and then Dave would be waiting for him to come back, and then his joke was he would just hide, he would stay, and there would be nothing happening on stage. And if you're in the business and really serious, dead air is worse than death. It's just, you can't tolerate anything that's, where you're just waiting for something to happen that's not happening, and Dave is even a greater, coward about this. And I saw Murray in the hallway, Keely, and I was so upset that I ran out and I said, "Hold the door," and I took them by the scruff and I threw them out on the floor. They said, "Oh, there you are." Yeah, I remember that moment. It's just stuck with me all those years.
Thank you. Nice to have Bill Murray with us, and I know most of you are sitting at home thinking, is this PBS? Well, no. You know, because we're on at late night, we have a chance to do some hard-hitting, in-depth news reporting during the day, and whether you know it or not, there are just a couple of things wrong with New York City. So we went out on the streets to take a closer look and filed this report that we call The Shame of the City. Not everyone survives in this urban battlefield we call New York City. This combination cityscape and war zone, the crowded landscape has claimed another gentle victim. Yes, say goodbye to the once plentiful, majestic pine tree. I'm here at 52nd and Park, once a thickly wooded forest right here in Manhattan. Now, everywhere are the dead trees, cut down in their prime, victim of some mysterious blight. Was it pollution? Maybe overcrowding? Perhaps forced out by too many delicatessens? No one seems to know what's killing our trees. There are no simple answers, only simple questions, and simple people like myself to ask them. It's truly the shame of the city. Can we take these home for firewood? We just bust them up a little bit? Midtown Manhattan, center of the arts, but some people are out to destroy it for everyone. I'm here on the corner of 50th and 7th Avenue where we see something, maybe it's just a little thing, but for my money, more hard evidence of the shame of the city. Planing a party, try one of these. A sudden arbitrary addition of an extra E and a missing N down here. I don't know about you, but this is the kind of thing that really gets me steamed. Excuse me, sir, could you come in here? What is your name, please?
My name is Danny.
Danny, do you work in this establishment?
Yes, sir.
Now, were you aware of the fact that there are 2 misspellings in this sign?
Yes, I know.
You do know, but yet you put the sign up.
I'm going to change that.
You are going to change it. Thank you very much, Denny. There you have it, a blight on society remedied, and frankly, I was proud to be a part. New York City, center of culture, of wealth, of power, and victim of one of the highest crime rates in the history of mankind. A crime rate that continues to climb and shows no sign of stopping, and you have to ask yourself, is it really any wonder when you take a look at the police department? A population of 10 million, and this is the police department? It's shocking, horrifying, tragic, and yet nothing is being done about it. Excuse me, sir. Do you work here?
Yes, I do.
Are you the only one who works here?
Yes, I am.
Unbelievable, yet it's true. Truly, the shame of the city. From roughly the years 1951 to about 1965, there was a television program on called Mr. Wizard. Don Herbert, of course, was Mr. Wizard. This is very exciting for me. He's here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the original, the one, the only, Mr. Wizard. Hello, Don. Nice to see you, sir. We're going to do some neat stuff here. Before we get into that, well, in those years, was there ever any serious mix-ups where a little kid was roughed up a little on the show?
No, not really, because of the kind of show we were doing, you know, anything could happen. It was perfectly all right. Only once. We did an experiment in which we put a bottle over a candle and then light the candle with a little coil next to the wick. And one time in the rehearsal, we got the wick wet. So when we got it all set up, we turned on the current, it got hotter and hotter, and vaporized the candle so that in the bottle we had a mixture of vaporized paraffin and oxygen, and suddenly it disappeared from the close-up. up into the lights. And of course I was shocked because I thought, my God, the bottle blew up. it turned out I heard it clang down behind me, so I knew that and the child was standing next to me. They were covered with water. And I was too. And then as soon as I saw that she wasn't hurt, well, I got out a towel and wiped her off, wiped myself off, and we went right on doing it.
Was she stunned a little bit?
Yeah, she sure was. And that was the only time we ever edited the show. We cut the laughter of the crew. We kept everything up.
What crew doesn't love to see a kid vaporized?
You could hear them laughing way in the control room. It was horrible.
As they say, what are we going to do this evening?
Well, I brought some of sort of my favorite, almost classical experiments to do. The first one is here is a bottle of soda water. As you know, there's gas dissolved in it. Here is a baby bottle that has a measuring along the side, and I want you to sort of guess how much gas is dissolved in this bottle. Here's 4 ounces. Is it less than 4 ounces, between 4 and 8 ounces, or more than 8 ounces?
And I have to guess?
Well, you know, go ahead.
How much? I'm guessing the amount of gas in this bottle.
That's about 10 ounces here.
Oh, I would say it's probably less than 4 ounces of gas.
Okay, you will find out. Here's what we will do.
I feel like that kid.
We've already lost some, right?
Yeah. Now, what kind of gas is in there? It's not
carbon dioxide gas.
Right.
Okay. We'll pour it into the baby bottle.
Do many babies drink club soda?
Not with this nipple, because this is a special kind of nipple that does not have a hole in the top.
Well, what's the point of that?
Well, they're called blind nipples, and the mother is supposed to make her own holes, see, for every side. Now, would you take it and shake it, please?
Take it and shake it?
Shake it. Take it and shake it. Keep going. We lost a little bit.
Lost some gas, but that'd be great on the subway. People would stay away from you if you had one of those, wouldn't they?
Anyway, if we haven't lost quite so much, you will find that the entire liquid will go into the nipple, which means that there's at least more than 8 ounces of gas.
So so 10 ounces of liquid and 8 ounces of gas.
Well, there's at least 10 ounces of it, yes.
And that means you drink it, it'll kill you, right?
It'll make you burp, that's right.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, notice the pressure. That is hard to blow up, believe me. There we are, back to normal.
Good heavens.
Anyway, there you are. Do you ever remember probably the most famous of all the sort of home science demonstrations is getting the hard-boiled egg in the bottle?
Yes.
Okay, well, you can't do that much anymore because they don't have milk bottles, and that's what you used to do it in.
That's right.
So I have now got a new version. This is a balloon filled with water. What you have to do is to get that balloon filled with water into the bottle.
Do you want me to do that?
Well,
you can't.
Yeah, it's just too big.
I'd need special tools. We'd have to send out for them. We'd be here all night.
Let us do it in the classical way. I'll get the balloon wet so we make sure that it is nice and lubricated. Okay. I'd like you to take it in your hand like this.
I think we've all seen Shriners do this, haven't we?
I was going to light this piece of paper and put the burning paper into the bottle.
Okay.
And then I want you to put the balloon on top like that.
That'll be
now,
all right.
what is going to happen is the paper burning is going to heat up the air inside. That makes it expand, and the balloon, when you put it over the top, is going to work as a one-way valve, allowing the air to get out. But as soon as the flame goes out, the air is going to get cool again.
Okay.
It'll contract, and no outside air pressure can get in there, because this is hard, so it's going to push on the balloon and force it in.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Do you want a drum roll or anything here, sir?
Well, if you'd like.
Could we have just a small drum roll? It's the first night they play along.
Are you ready? Put the balloon on top.
Oh! Good heavens!
Now the question is,
how do you get that sucker out? Yeah.
An ice pick is handy, but the reason why it went in is because the air pressure pushed it in, because we lowered the pressure there. All we have to do is get the balloon down here like this. If you try to pull it like that, you're going to make this air pressure less. So what I'd suggest that you do is the following.
We have just 2 minutes here. We want to
2
get
minutes?
to the other one, too.
All right, well, what we do...
See, the problem is this hardly ever comes up in real life,
In fact, that's one of the things that people very often would say, why do you want to get the egg in the bottle in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, they're just sort of fun to do. Okay, here comes the balloon. I have a straw, you see, in there next to it.
Right.
So as you pull up on the balloon...
The same principle of the shoehorn?
Okay. Would you please pull on the balloon?
Pull on the balloon. Well, now this is... Whoa!
There you go. You did it.
I'm afraid we don't have time for this one. We have to pause. We'll be right back, folks.
Not initially, but Dave started calling us that, and I don't remember exactly when, halfway through, but it's a term that he said came from the world of wrestling. The world's most dangerous something or other. He had some of his comic friends, I don't know whether it's Jeff Altman or whom, they had a game where one would name a wrestler and the other one would have to name his signature hold. So in that, and they knew them too, the real ones. Anyway, in that, inspired by that, I think he came up with this world's most dangerous band.
Some better on the market, but you can see it's fireproof.
Oh, yeah. Why get the good stuff?
And anyway, you can see why insulation is so important. If it could keep 1,000 degrees that close to your hand.
Now, this one actually does have a practical application,
Yes,
like you
of
said.
course.
Yeah.
We're going to be serious now.
Yeah, terrific.
Your hand all right?
Everything is fine. Yeah, very nice. This is fascinating stuff.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate you coming by. This is Don Herbert, Mr. Wizard. We'll be back. Thank you very much, Paul. We have to turn the power on this thing off in just a moment. I want to, first of all, thank the studio audience. You folks were sweet to be here this evening. Did he say sweet to the studio audience? Unbelievable. I've never said that to a studio audience in my entire life, but thank you very much, folks. You're a handsome group of people. And by the way, if you would like Bill Murray to come to your own home and sing that same number, also my thanks to Mr. Bill Murray and Mr. Wizard, Don Herbert. And what show would be complete without the Rainbow Grill Peacock Girls, whom we saw earlier? Paul Shaffer and the band. Thank you, folks, for being here. Our announcer, Bill Wendell. And tomorrow evening, comedian Pat Paulson, screenwriter Steve Tessich, dentist Norman Hoffman will be here to review the film Reds and a tour of NBC. That's all coming up tomorrow. So be sure and tune in, as they say, when they want you to tune in. Here now to close our show is Mr. Steve Fessler, a guy from Brooklyn who for some reason has committed to memory all the dialogue of the 2.5-hour classic B film Bowery at Midnight, starring Bela Lugosi. So now for those of you who would really rather be watching old movies at this time of night, I know I would, please welcome Steve Fessler.
Bowery at Midnight with Bela Lugosi, John Archer, and Wanda McKay. Extra, extra, read all about it. Read about the escape of Fingers Dolan, paper mister. You shouldn't smoke that. It might stunt your growth. If you gotta go ahead and smoke it. I'm saving it for after dinner. Dinner? You mean you got a place for a handout? Sure, over at the Friendlies. A friendly what? Ain't you ever heard of the Friendly Mission? Nah. You're sure to get some swell food there and no questions asked. But what are we waiting for? Come on, pal. There it is. Ain't it pretty? Just like I told you. Gorgeous. And the guy that runs it, he's a soft touch. Oh, good evening. I see you brought a needy friend with you tonight. Yay, he's a pedestrian from Pittsburgh. You're very welcome. Here you will find food for your body, as well as comfort for your troubled mind. Yeah, but I'd really like some soup. Of course, my friend. What happened to your hand? Nothing, I just hurt it a little bit. Just the same, you'd better take care of it. Nurse Malvern, here's a patient for you. Have another bowl? No, thanks. And what about a smoke? Nice cigar.